Hey, Bruno, how are you?
Hey, Matt. I'm fine. I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great, great. Thanks for joining me. You know what? I always love those intro musics. People probably saw it as like Azure Community Stand Up. Well, I'll tell you what, wrong. Wrong. We're on a totally different thing, but that had the best intro music. It's like if you're standing in a fancy hotel. And so how could we not use that?
Yes, that's next level elevator music. Music. I love
Yep.
that.
So we are here today to talk about Azure OpenAI and building apps with it. So, overall, quickly to introduce myself, my name is Matt Soucoup. I work at dotnet Cloud Advocacy, and I'm joined here by my newest best friend in the whole world, Bruno Capuano. Bruno?
Yes. Hey, I'm also part of the .NET team of the Advocates .NET team. I really am a big fan of AI, and I am looking forward for today's session.
Yeah, I would say, Bruno, you're a little bit more of a fan of an AI. You are the expert in AI. And as we'll see as we go through here. But what we really want to drive home here, we're doing a really interesting thing. So yesterday the greater .NET, we had on the .NET focus on AI event. So it was like a little part of .NET Conf. Every now and then for .NET Conf, we have a focus on event where we just talk about certain things. So yesterday was AI. And so as part of that, going off of that for the next 2 weeks, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into AI to help everybody watching get credentialed with AI. So now you can be able to say, all right, I now have my AI credentials and be able to put those on your LinkedIn account, resume, or whatnot. And it's great because Microsoft offers a free credential assessment that you can go through, you take. It's like an hour long exam. I think it's 2 hours long. I was messing with it last night. And yeah, it's free to take. It's not easy to take, Bruno. I was messing around with it and it's actually really comprehensive. It's not just going through there and answering multiple choice questions. You are typing code and solving a problem that they give you in a virtual machine on the web. It's pretty cool. So, what we're going to do here in the next several live streams, we have 5 of them planned throughout the next 2 weeks, is that we're going to have you all walk through 7 different learn modules. And once you take all 7 learn modules from there, then you'll be able to go and take the assessment. And those learn modules will prep you. You'll know everything that you need to know, and you'll be able to take that assessment. I don't want to say it's going to be simple because nothing is ever simple, but you should be well prepped to go through and take the assessment and hopefully be able to do it with no problem. So first, watch the live streams, do the challenge. We have the challenge. When we say challenge, it's essentially we grouped all the learn modules that you need. We put them together in a challenge so you can enter it, see how all your friends are doing too, so you can see how people are going along with it. Say you have 3 of the 7 done, 4 of the 7 modules done, and so on. So they're all the modules are in one spot for your easy reference, and then take the assessment when you're ready. Bruno, did that make any sense? I know I was talking a lot.
Hey, no, I like it. And I have a question. What are the timelines? I don't have the challenge
Yeah.
open here, but I know that we start today for sure.
Yep. So
But when?
okay, good question. So the assessment itself is open always and forever, right? So like even if you want to say next year go and take it, totally cool. But what we're doing here in particular, as far as like the challenge, so our effort to help people skill up is the challenge is open until next September 20th. So 1 month from yesterday. And so, like, as part of this group effort for everybody going ahead and learning together, 1 month that we want to have, we're going to have the live streams going. We're going to be paying attention, like on Twitter. You can come and ask us questions and so on. So it's that 1 month time period that we really want to make the effort for people to kind of come through. We're here to help you at that time. So, yeah, there's 2 different answers to that question, Bruno. The first one is take it whenever you can. That's the most important. And make it fit in your schedule. But if you can do it in the next month, we're all here to help you do it.
That's what I like. That's what I like.
All right. So we are going to cover then in this particular session the first 2 modules of the overall 7 that'll help you get prepared for that assessment. And it's getting started with Azure OpenAI Service. And then we're going to start building natural language solutions with Azure OpenAI Service. So first, we're going to start getting stuff ready, and then we're going to start getting deep in, getting some code written. And I know, Bruno, this is where you love to you love to reside. So yeah, I'm going to then. We're going to be doing all demos, and Bruno, you are our expert here, so I'm just going to let you lead it away.
Yeah, sure. So before we start, this is the playlist. This is what we are going to do in the next couple of days. I think it's going to be for the next 7 or 8 days. Starting today, as you mentioned, talking about how we can build stuff with Azure OpenAI. Then tomorrow we are going to do some prompt engineering, and we have generate code, images, RAG, responsible AI, and more. So this is one of the links. Please take a look and subscribe to the videos. And the whole idea of today is, as Matt said, is to basically start to review the modules. And the modules are here, are open, you can take, this is part of the challenge. But if you know me, I'm not a fan of doing and reading. So we are going to talk about what we have here. We are going to talk about Azure OpenAI Services, Azure AI Studio, what are the AI models that we have there, how we can create, deploy them, the different types that we have. But I'm literally want to switch to the Azure AI Studio example and start to show things. And this is kind of the idea. I will encourage everyone to get here and take a look at the modules, and you do the modules, but also spend some time working with this. Because fun fact that we just tested, and I was kind of knowing this, but I wasn't sure, that basically what we are going to do right now, we are going to use Azure OpenAI Service. Azure OpenAI Services is, long story short, is we have this amazing partnership with the OpenAI team, and we have the models that you can find in ChatGPT, in example, the GPT models available in Azure. The main difference is that when you deploy these models in Azure, you have a tons of benefits in terms that you can deploy models to regions. When you use the model in a region, it's going to be available just for you and your subscriptions, and you have everything, the latest and greatest stuff that we have in Azure around security and more are also available for these models. And until, I can't remember the dates, but it wasn't a long time ago, you are not allowed to go directly to Azure and create a new service for the Azure OpenAI. You need to basically request access to use these services because there were a lot of demand. We were still kind of figuring out how to scale this at the global level. But today, you have an Azure subscription, you can literally go there and create one Azure OpenAI service that is going to allow you to create a GPT-4 model and embedded models, DALL-E models, and more. And we tested this, Matt, yesterday with our personal account, yes, and it works.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it works now. Before it was kind of limited, and now it's open for everybody. So yeah, that's big news. That's awesome for us. So it's awesome for you, actually. So
yes, and remember that if you go to azure.com, if you don't have an Azure account, you go to azure.com and you can request a free access to an Azure account. I always forget, but I think that by default you have $200 or something like this for free that you can play around. By the way, $200 to test with these models is a lot of money. These models, if you are in testing and learning phase, are kind of very not expensive. You can do thousands of prompts for a cent of a dollar or something there later. But yes, right now, accessing to all of these resources, if you go to the module and start to play around, this is what you are going to have. First of all, the first requirement is have an Azure AI, have an Azure subscription, and then just create a service. And let me show you how you can create a service. So this is my personal Azure subscription. Just to show you how personal is this, I have this since I was living in Spain. So that's why you see here that, oh, sorry, I have 2 testing subscription. I am having this in not using Canadian dollars or US dollar. This is euros. This is what the money that I have spent and remaining in my 2 Visual Studio subscription that I have here. But if you want to create an Azure OpenAI service, it's just as easy. Like go here, create a resource, search for OpenAI. There it is. Yes, we are going to get there. We love to give you, we have this amazing new stuff here in the browser. Well, we are going to select this Azure OpenAI. Let's create one. And the next step is the easy one, where you are going to define which subscription you want to use, a resource group. Let's create one new one that is gone. This is Gen AI, resource group, and region. This is kind of important in terms of when we're creating models. We have a lot of models, and we have a lot of models in, let me find it. I have it somewhere here. We have a lot of models, GPT models in example, and not all of the models are available in all of the regions. So just in case you want to test and you live in example, I have friends in Brazil. So you want to use your Brazil South region, be aware that up to today, in example, we don't have any GPT model available there. They are going to come. This is slowly deploying to all of the regions. As you can see, in example, even I am in Canada, but even in Canada we have the GPT-4 models, but I don't have GPT-4 Turbo or Vision or more. So go for the regions. If you want to test your model, go for a region that have the model available that you want to use. East US 2, Sweden Central, West US, and others are kind of the popular ones. And hey, this is as easy as go here. Let's define some name like Gen AI OpenAI. Sorry about the crappy name, because I have a personal. Oh, of course. Let's go with the Super Smart 2. It's also, there it is. And in the pricing tier, yes. And in the pricing tier, because this is a personal account, as I said, this is associated with my Visual Studio account, I only have access to the standard S0 account. So depending on if you're doing this in an enterprise account, you probably have more options there because you can scale. I can't remember the numbers here. They're somewhere here in pricing, but just to give you a sense of what you can do, in example, if we use the GPT-O Mini, one of the latest one, deployment that we have, per 1,000 tokens, and we are going to talk about tokens later, the price that we have in US dollar is $0.00015 for 1,000 tokens. 1,000 tokens is around 700 words or so. So imagine that we are paying this for a very big question for inputs, and we also for the output. If for, again, 1,000 tokens is 0.0006 cents or whatever of dollar. So it's easy to test when you are starting. It's not very expensive when you are starting to test and learn and do some proof of concept and more here. So as I said, once we are here, just defining the region, subscription, the resource group, and more. Press next. I don't have any restriction in terms of networks. Next. Don't want to add any tags. And after a couple of seconds, I can create this my Azure OpenAI. So it's going to initialize the deployment, and it's probably going to take a couple of seconds. It's super fast, super easy. Right now, in 1 minute or so, I am going to have a new GPT, a new OpenAI service model deploy in, can't remember which was the region that I chose. I think it was East US or something like this. But hey, it's easy. But what do you think?
I think that's actually really super easy. So I just want to take a real quick step back. So what we did here is that we are deploying the service, I guess the wrapper around everything else that we're just about to see pretty soon is essentially, because I got confused when first couple of times that I did this, is that we're not ready to go quite yet, almost. And you're going to show us how to take it from there. But we also were talking about the models before, and you're going to show us a little bit more about that too, because the models are the things that we quote talk with. And it's interesting that there were so many of those too, and they all have the kind of different capabilities and so on. But yeah, so far, really easy. I mean, you're really just kind of picking out where you want this to live, and where they live have different models available to them. And then the pricing structure, standard is all I have too. And then pretty much away you go. So yeah, super easy.
Yes, and you're right. And this is because we've done this so many times and we are so used to do this. Thanks for reminding that, yes, we haven't created any model yet. We haven't created any AI anything yet. This is just a service that we have in Azure. Like we have other services for search, for storage, for Cosmos as a DB or more. And this is the moment when we have the service. This is the moment that we can start to create and deploy the models. And this is also saying, because this is important to explain, that once you create the service and you have this, and by the way, in the tutorial, we have different ways to show we create this. I use the portal, but if you are a fan of the command lines, you can use the Azure CLI or more. We talk about, sorry, we talk about check your regions depending on what you want to use. But yes, this is just the wrapper. This is the OpenAI, the Azure OpenAI service that is going to allow us to create the model. And this is the moment that we start to talk probably around models, or we start to talk probably around Azure AI Studio and more in terms of, hey, okay, I create this. I want to do AI. What's next? What I want to do next? Is going to depend. Yes, it's probably going to depend on what do you want to do. So I don't know, Matt, what is the next step in example for you? If you want to do something right now, do you want to test the chat? Do you want to generate an image? Or what is your next step here?
My next step is I want to talk with it. I want to test the chat. How do I do that, Bruno? We have this Azure OpenAI deployed. What do I have to do next to start rudimentary? How do I talk to it without having to write any code? That's what I want to know.
Yes, hey, that's basically what we want to do. So in the home page of the service, we have a couple of get started sections. We always try to make the life easier for our users. And first of all, you have monitor your usage. I will probably put this in the bottom, because the second one is how we can develop and code some stuff. And then we have two studios here basically to work with this. And we have the Azure OpenAI Studio and the Azure AI Studio. Main difference here is that the Azure AI Studio covers not only OpenAI services, cover a lot of other services. We can use services, Gen AI services from Mistral or from Microsoft Research like 5.3 or the Llama models from Meta. So this is kind of a nice place. I already have open here the Azure AI Studio, which is literally the click that we are going to have there. And this is a wrapper, as I said, in top of what we have created. And the whole idea here is that, hey, I can start to take a look here, go kind of deeper of what we've seen right now with what's created in Azure OpenAI Service, and start to see, hey, take a look here. We have the latest GPT-4 model available here. This was the GPT-4o Mini, was released a couple of weeks ago. Now it's available here. We have partnership with Cohere. We have rerun here models, Mistral models, and more, and the whole catalog of models here. So beside what we just did, if you want to learn more, this is a great place to start to play around with the model, because in example, if I want to deploy a GPT-4o Mini, I can get here and I can see that, hey, this model is great for chat completion, and we can also do fine tuning, and I can deploy the model. So I'm going to see here my resources that I have created. This is the one that we just created. So I can deploy a model here. And the whole idea is that when we deploy a model, like this GPT-4o Mini, this is the moment that I can start to play with the model. I can start to say, hey, I want to chat with the model, do completions or more.
So Bruno, let me ask you here quickly as you start to deploy this. Back out on that previous screen when we saw all the models that are available to us, let's say I'm just starting my app. And how do I know which one to pick from? Like, because I know picking a model is kind of important overall. Like, so what would you recommend? Like somebody like me who has no idea what I'm doing ever, where do I start picking from? Do I just look at the pricing page and pick whatever looks to be the least expensive? Or how would you recommend me going through and picking something?
Hey, that's a great question, and it's probably a little out of the module, but an example we have here. First of all, let's try to see in deployments option. We want to deploy a model, so we have two ways to deploy a model right now. One is serverless API, which is basically pay-per-use. We are going to deploy a model, and we are only going to pay when we use the model. The other one, when managed compute, is basically kind of a virtual machine that is going to be up and running all the time, or it's going to be up and running when you need it. but it's going to host your model. And sometimes this is a little more expensive. So if you want to talk about price, you can go and check the price in example of GPT-4 that we just seen in the Azure OpenAI services. So pricing is one of the things that I will take a look. The other is, what do you want to do with the model? Do you want to do, and this is the part, what do you want to do? Do you want to generate text? So in example, we are thinking of a scenario where we have, I don't know, we have tons of documents for a specific domain, and we want to do some text generation on top of that knowledge. Or we want to do translations, or we want to fill mask, or we want to do classification. So this is a filter that we have here where we start to check the scenarios that we want to use, or we want to do, an example, Q&As. This is kind of the standard chat that we have. So this is kind of a nice one to start to see what do you want to do. We can do also image classifications and more. It's not just about text and more. And then, and this is a little more advanced, if you already know a model, and if you already know that you want to pick up a model and basically tune your model, try to make your model more specific or more aligned with a specific domain. You want to do something in healthcare or something very specific for your domain. This is a great place also to filter. So saying, okay, I want to do Q&A here with this. So with the super crappy filter that just applied, which I can't remember, I have here one DeepSet Roberta based Quad 2 model, which I really don't know, but this is also important. Some of these models, we can take a look here. We can start to take a look here where it came from. This came from Hugging Face. It's used. I literally don't know anything about the model, but if I want to use it, I can also take a look at the license. And hey, this is a Creative Commons 4 license. So we can also take a look who created the model, how was trained the model, the license, and more, which is also important. So yes, going here is a great place. Taking a look here at the catalog is a great place to know more about what you want to do. As I said, maybe probably Q&A is the most popular one because we always want to do a chat. And also on top of Q&A, okay, what are the options here? I can use Mistral, Phi, or GPT.
Cool. No, that's pretty awesome that this gives you the whole way to kind of tune it down and try to help you find out, because it's pretty overwhelming when you get in there. You just see so many options, but you can, the drop downs kind of help you get what you want. And you can see the dollies are in there for text to images and all that other stuff as well.
Yes, and even moving forward, we have some benchmark here, but again, this you need to be here in the space to say, okay, I want to compare a couple of models. I don't know, Llama 2 with Microsoft Phi 2, so you have some comparisons here with a couple of standard tests like the PQA or the MMLU and other. If you are already a little more advanced here, we have also these public benchmarks where you can start to compare models, and with this basically choose what do you want to do. So there are some metrics here like coherence and probably groundedness. Groundedness is here. So there are several things that you can do. I will advise that even if it's this not very, very well covered and we don't have a couple of units on this, play around a little in Azure AI Studio, because this is a great place to get familiar with the models and how you can use the model. We have even here, and I know that we are going to talk about this in future sessions, a prompt catalog where you can create prompts, understand how prompts work, and using a model, get your own prompts for Q&A on a domain or more. So spending time in Azure AI Studio, it's always a good way to spend some time.
Excellent. Cool.
Okay,
right.
so
I derailed you.
Yes. Hey, no problem. We were here. So as I said, we have here the model catalog, benchmark, prompt catalog, more. We even have access directly to Azure OpenAI. And what we wanted to do is create a new GPT-4o mini. This is right now the one that we want to use basically. And I am going to deploy a name, deploy a resource. Let's see if we have space here. No, literally choose one that I can deploy, but no problems. I already have model deploys here to test. And this is because in my current subscription, I think I have a limitation to deploy one model per region, and I should probably have already deployed a GPT-4o middle here. So if you start to find around these kind of things, you probably need to have a table. I have an Excel here with every model that I have deployed in every region in my subscription. So I know, okay, I already have this one here or that one there. But this is also important because sometimes you get these warnings, and it's not because you can't deploy a model, it's because you already have deployed that model. And there are some limits also there that you can also get when you deploy a model and use it a lot. So in order to get here, let me show you the next idea is that when we are in Azure AI Studio, what we have is the concept of hub. And a hub is a place where we are going to connect basically a lot of services together. Of course, in example of Azure OpenAI services, but if we want our AI solution, think about this, our Gen AI solution to also use external data, can connect here with the data lake, getting data from an external service with Cosmos DB or SAP or more. So the hub is the place that we can start to create different hubs in different regions, again, where we can connect services all together. And Azure AI Studio is going to be the one that is going to do all of the connections and pipelines and everything else in the back for us. So when we have a hub, let me go this one here. I think the Contoso Dev is the one that I want to use. Internally in the hub, we have a next level, and this is the last one I promised, which is a project. So here in a hub, you can see that I have one project, which is Contoso, and in this one, I have connected a set of projects. So I have an Azure AI Search, an Azure OpenAI, and 2 blob storage. Blob storage is basically a super cool and amazing file system that we have on the cloud because I am storing information there. But this project is the place that I can start to connect resources all together, and then I can start to use it. And I know hub and project, it took me some time when I first get here, but you can go directly to project if you want, and it's going to create a hub in the back that you are not going to care. And I know it's kind of tricky. I don't know, Matt, what do you think about this hub of projects until you get used to this?
To be quite honest, Bruno, I've never even bothered with it. So yeah, that's how tricky it is. But I see what you're saying, and I would actually probably myself kind of go right to the project and have it do the hub in the background for me. But I'm not very organized, so. But yeah, it is kind of like the hub's your folder, your projects are your individual projects. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of heavy. And you share the resources that you have in your hub, and you can add new ones, and it's going to be added to the hub. But just so you can have Contoso Dev, Contoso Test, Contoso Prod, or whatever. But yes, that's kind of the idea. And I know it's tricky. When I explain this and I use this and I show this, I have these questions from time to time is, what is a hub? What is a project? Why do we have this and that? It's just getting used to the organizational structure, but this is a place that we can start to play around with the models in example. If we take a look what we have here in the project, of course, we have the settings, we have the resources that we have. I haven't created any compute, which is literally a virtual machine with tons of GPUs to work here. But then what I have here in example, and this is the important part, is access to our deployments. This is the model that we want to use. Also our data. Remember that I shared with you that Azure AI Studio allows us to connect with thousands. I literally can't remember because you can connect this with everything that is available to connect in Azure. So if you have, I seen the other day one of our colleagues showing how you can connect this with, I think it was an SAP. I think it's SAP HANA, the one that we have a database, an SAP database on memory, and the connection was there, everything was here, and we can start to do amazing things. So this is the play that we can start to connect our deployments with everything. And hey, in deployments, keeping this easy, I should have here, in this one, I have a GPT 3.5 Turbo, perfect. I have a 5.3 Mini, and we talk about chat. So let's start to play around with this in the playground where I can do chat, I can test assistants, generate images, or doing completions. And the whole idea of this is that it's all started, and this is a little large language model, and I know that we are going to talk about this probably more when we talk about prompts in the next session, but when we first get access to these amazing models, the GPT 3.5 models, this is what we start to do. I start to say something like this. Hi, my name is Bruno. I live, I don't know, in Canada. And now so I can start to do this and I will say, hey, model, generate. And the model
Hmm.
is going to complete this. Everything that we see right now in green is going to be complete by the model and say, hey, my name is Bruno, and now it's my turn to show you my city. I love traveling and meeting new people. So it will be.
Uh-oh, looks like Bruno.
I can play around.
Bruno,
Yes.
you froze there for just a second.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. We thought that you left to be a tourism guide in Brazil and Canada.
Yes. Hey, no. Oh my God. Yes, you said that I am a licensed tour guide in Brazil and Canada. But this is what the large language model are very good for. Basically, we give them a small or big text, and they are going to generate and complete the next token, the next section. And with this, what we can do is basically start to play around with parameters like the temperature, a value between 0 and 1, where we can define how creative the model is going to be. So I can switch from 0 to 1, and I can do regenerate. And we see here that it's a complete different answer. It's time to get a new car. 2018 on the Civic.
2018.
Yes, and by the way, I think GPT 3.5 Turbo as a model was trained with information until 2021, September or something like this. But this is also important. I can start to play around with these parameters like temperature, models, how many tokens that I want to use. So if I change 100 by 10, and I said again, my name is Bruno, I live, sorry. Now it's, let me copy this just in case, and let's generate. So we see here that we have a smaller response because I changed the max length of tokens to 10. If I change this to 500 and I generate again, it's going to generate a huge big one because we have here more tokens to play around. And remember, the token is the unit of measure. This is what we are paying in our inputs and in our outputs. And if you want to know more, go to the pricing and take a look at the token. But this is how we started with the completions. The cool thing about completion is that our friends of OpenAI, after some time, the people, when we start to play around with the GPT model, can't remember the versions, but they define a kind of a standard of how we can chat with the model, where it's basically a set of markup, very similar to HTML, where you are going to define, okay, this is a question, this is an answer, this is a question from the user, this is a response for the model. So with this, we can kind of go up one level of abstraction and start to chat with the model. And this is the model we have here, GPT 3.5 Turbo. And I also, if I want, I can test with the 5.3 model. But I can ask literally the same question. If I say, my name is Bruno, I live in Canada, now it's, and I have a question, I have here the response. And it's kind of, the nice things about the chat is we have kind of a memory here. So if I ask question like an example, what is my name? The model will say, your name is Bruno. And as we've seen before, let me hide this so we have more space. And as we've seen before, I can also set up somewhere here, define, I can also here define the parameters with the values and the temperature and more. And hey, I am using my model to chat here, which I know it's super boring. It's not the most interesting chat ever, but hey, here we are, and we can play around with the temperature, the max response, the minimum response, the tokens, and more. But what's happening in the back is, oh my God, the browser is not happy. Is that we have this, basically this conversation in the back. So we have started with the role, you are an AI assistant, then the first question, my name is Bruno, then the response, it's winter and very cold outside. Everything that we are doing is going to be keep on the memory so the chat know how we are working, how we are talking with this specific model.
So actually, Bruno, you said this was boring, but I'm going to disagree with you here because I think it's actually really interesting in that you can see what's going on and you can start playing around with the parameters like top P and temperature and tweak them without having to write code. So like this is like your test harness here, and that's already working. You don't have to really mess around with your stuff, and you can kind of tweak things and see how it works, and then jump into your code further. So this is like gives you a head start. So it's cool. I mean, it's kind of it's there, but it's cool in that it gives you that head start. So I don't know. I like it. I find it cool. So
Yes, and hey, the cool thing, and we are not going to do this, the cool thing that we can do here also in AI Studio is that, and we are going to see this on the RAG session in a couple of days, if you have data already and you want your model to also interact with your data, this is a place that you have connection with your data, you can select your data, and you can start to also interact with the data here. So
yeah.
AI Studio is a key piece if we want to do this kind of thing, because we can do always these things. Like, an example, if I want to use a system message, which is kind of defining how the model are going to interact in the whole response, I can define it here. So the system message that we have right now is, you are an AI assistant that helps people find information. And I can say, you always respond using emojis and short jokes. Sorry about that. I'm going to apply the changes, do not show this again. And if I clear the chat and ask the question again, my answer is going to be, hi, Bruno, with a wave. I do the Canadian emoji here. Nice to meet you. What can I help you find today? And I can say something like, tell me something about kittens. And crossing fingers to have something. And I know large language models and jokes are not very good, but professional nappers, here we are with this, and just changing everything that we have here. So this is kind of a nice overview of, we started in Azure, we created an Azure OpenAI service, and then Azure AI Studio helped us to basically deploy this, create a new model, and play around with the model. Create some very simple chat, create some system message, do completions and more. But I'm guessing that we also want to see some code. We also see how we can do this.
I do. I love it.
Perfect. Yes, this is kind of the idea. So first of all, a couple of important topics that we need to have here. Each one of our models are deployed in an endpoint. So this is my endpoint right now that I have here, and we have a key. We usually need at least the endpoint and the key to use one of the SDKs to interact with the code. So usually it's endpoint and the key is good enough. We always also ask, they're probably, depending on the SDK, they're going to ask you for the name of the resource and probably the regions. It's all going to depend. But the endpoint and the key is something that we need to use. And also here directly on Azure AI Studio, we have access to some samples in terms of, I want to do Python, not going to do Python today. We have C#, cool, Java, Go, or even the JSON request. If you are using, I don't know, Rust, and you don't have an SDK, I don't know if there is SDK for Azure OpenAI right now, and you want to do simple, raw HTTP request and post, hey, you have here the JSON format where you know how we can do this. So what we are going to use in order to interact with these models here, is semantic kernel. Semantic kernel, right now there are a couple of ways that we can do and interact with these models on the cloud. And we have an Azure OpenAI SDK. We have also semantic kernel, which is an SDK also. And what I like about semantic kernel is kind of a wrapper on top of all of the services that we just seen, and allows us to, in a very easy way, in example, talk with the model. This is what we are going to see in a very simple way. But if we want to do something else, like RAG and more, it has a lot of abstractions, a lot of service abstraction that allows us to do that in a very simple way. So just going back to a very simple code, this is what we can do. And let me show you the step-by-step of what we have. And by the way, we are going to share the link of the for the samples here. So first of all, as I said, we need the keys and then the name, the endpoint, and the key, and the API key, which that's it. I have it here. I have it stored here as a user secret. This is a console application. That's it. Then what we are going to do, we are going to create a chat completion service. This is one of the services that we can create. We can create a chat completion. We can create a completion, not the chat, the first one that we've seen. We can create an embedding service. We can create several image generation. We can create a lot of services here. And the whole idea is that the semantic kernel make an abstraction here, and it's going to give us the chance of, okay, you have everything here. And then we are going to create, because we are using a chat, we are going to create, hey, we are using a builder pattern here, a services pattern here. We are going to ask for the chat service. And then remember what we have here. Take a look at what we have here. We add a system message, the one that we tweak at the beginning, and I can start to ask questions. I have a simple question here around who won the World Cup, and I add the response. We are going to tweak this, but this is a very, very simple scenario where we create a question, and then when we have we create, a chat service, and then we can start to interact with the service. So let me go here, and let's change this. Let's delete these two. We don't need them. And I have here my question, and I have here the history, chat history, and I have add a system message. You are a helpful assistant. And then my name is Bruno, I live in Canada. Now and we get the response, and we show the response in the console. So let's give this a try. I'm using the current model. Let's give it a try to see what we have here. Okay, so hey, I like the response here. The chat and the message say that, hey, it seems that the model that we have in the back says it seems that your message got cut off. Could you please provide more details or clarify what you need assistance with? This is smart. This is probably using a GPT-4 model, because what can I do? Let me ask a question. Let us ask a question around what can I do in Canada? In this scenario, the models understand what we have. I am already using one that I have exceeded the token rate. Hey, no problem. We can change to the one that we just used. But this is something that we also going to expect. If you are using a model and you get to you have some limits in terms of how many requests you can do per second, per minute, and more, you are going to have these messages around, hey, you have a lot of usage here, so let's sync this. But hey, this is a great moment to also go back here. This is a play around mode, and we can copy this. No problem with this. We are going to delete this one later, so we can go into do the endpoint. We are going to copy the API key. I have a new keyword here, and oh my god! And the model name is GPT 3.5, and the model name is. So if I run this again, I have here, hey, Bruno, Canada is a wonderful country with plenty of activities like things. So literally what we are doing right now is we are using the same model, the same that we have in our Azure AI Studio. The main difference is that here in Azure AI Studio, we tweak a little the system message. So let's also change our system message. So you are an AI assistant that's help find people, and let's also test the same question here in the chat first. Let's clear the chat. And so the answer here is, hey, Bruno, Canada is full of amazing things. You can sky high, come explore the cities, hit Putin, and so much more. A couple of emojis there. By the way, as far as I remember, I think that the emojis are going to not work in my console because the font that I am using, but let's give it a try. Let's see what we have.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yes, these are the emojis. But hey, plenty to do in Canada, hiking, Whistler, visiting. Hey, Whistler, I think it's closer to you than myself.
Yep.
Niagara Falls, that's closer to me or do more. But
Yep.
this is literally in 20 lines of code, the same scenario that we just seen in the
Yep.
in Azure AI Studio, which is kind of nice. Semantic kernels allows us to create a builder, then create a chat completion, get the chat completion, and start to talk about this.
And what I really liked about the Cody demo, you can actually almost see it one-to-one what we did in the AI Studio versus how you put it in here, where we're adding the system message, where we're adding the user message, and we're getting it back. And you could actually keep on, when you get the result, you could actually add the result back as an assistant message to the history and then recall. That way you can keep the conversation going.
If you do a loop here, you can start to talk about this. And you can even, right now, I am getting the full message in async mode. So I am asking questions and I'm getting response and I am printing the response. But if I do this, the chat, streaming chat message contents, what I can do is something like for each. I always forget how we do this.
Async. Yep.
I can't remember. We can do the stream here. I need to double check the streaming chat message. We can also get here and print one by one.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I have right now is let me find. And async, I have here get client async, invoke async.
I think it's await on the.
Wait, is the wait in the for? Yes, somewhere here. Async history, it's in tutorial 1. Async, no, streaming. As I want to search for streaming, chat message system, tutorial 10. There it is. I wait for each manage content in results. This is the one that I want. And not this one. And this is what we like about live coding. So I have the var content in result, and here I will do the content. Something is not fine here, I can't remember. But if I ask the question right now and it's working, I should start to get the response. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you don't want to have the right line. Yeah.
Yes, I need to have it right. In each one of these. But this is also nice to see because I can do this. This is also a good way to see if someone wants. This is a token. This is what we are going to see here. It's basically, hey, Bruno, Canada has plenty to offer from student, whatever. So each one of these pieces between the lines, that's a token. That's what we have in one of the tokens. And remember, these models are generating token step by step. So this is a way to get this. And hey, I like it. And we also play around with the temperature. We also play around with a couple of values here and there. So let me have another sample here, literally the same sample. Let's use the OpenAI keys that I have here. So I don't have any config. There it is. I don't need this one. So, oops, sorry, not here. And what I have here is another sample that it's going to basically, and I'm going to fix this to run it again. We can define, if we want to define an example, if we want to change the temperature or the max tokens or more, we can define prompt AI execution settings. And then when we use the kernel, when we use the service, we can pass this. So if we also want to ask questions to a model, in example, but not use the temperature in 1, which is super creative, switch down, make this 0.5 or 0, this is the way that we can test this and use this. So there are a lot of ways. There are plenty of things that we can do here. And it's kind of nice to see that we have all of these options here to play around. So let's give this a try. So this is the moment, the model, deployment name. This is the endpoint. and this is the key. So in this one, if I didn't make any ugly mistake in the code, yeah, here it is. Let's run this. If I get that I only want to use, I don't know, 10 tokens, and my prompt is write a joke about kittens, I am going to have a response, a very simple response, set startup, and let's run it. That is not going to be a joke at all. It's going to be, why did the kitten enjoy the, because I am setting up limits.
That's
Yes.
very suspenseful.
Yes, but hey, this is, and when we start to talk about from 10 to 100, okay, now we have something more coherent. When we start to talk about choose the model, choose and price and expenses is something that need to be important. I think playing around with tokens and setting boundaries in tokens is super important. So otherwise, we are going to get to the limit, which I can't remember, but imagine that you are going to for 1,000 tokens, and you probably don't need to use a tokens every time. And I'm guessing that when we talk about prompting, prompt, get a better results and more, but everything that we want to do can be done by code, which I love it because it's give us a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, that's super cool. And one thing I just wanted to call out, and not super related to this, what we're talking about, but it is that you should keep knowing about is we asked the same question, write a joke about kittens, and it gave us two different answers. And that is AI is not deterministic. You will 1 + 1 is 2, and the next time it's 3. And so there's a different answer coming out on every time. So it's just trust but verify of what the stuff that you're getting out. And yeah, just always have to remind everybody that.
Yes, and we always add the human layer on top of the AI output to double check everything that we have here. So I know that we have 5 more minutes or so.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to see anything else. Let me double check because I think we covered the main two scenarios. And as we said at the beginning, when we are here in the modules and we get to this is the content of the modules, and we get to the exercise and you launch a lab, Matt, correct me if I am wrong, this is going to ask you to use your Azure subscription. So you need to have an Azure subscription here. This is what we talked at the beginning.
Yep. So what happens when you click that Launch Lab button, you're going to be launched into a virtual machine. And that virtual machine then is going to say, hey, open up a web browser and then log into the Azure portal and then use your username, password to log into the Azure portal. And so the reason that you're logging into a virtual machine is that on the right-hand side of the screen, there's going to be instructions on how to complete the lab. So it's like this controlled environment, but you're still using your subscription to access Azure. That makes sense? It's like you're running your computer with an extra text bar along the right-hand side. So, but yes, you're right.
And I like it. Yes, and I like it because when we launch and do this, is going to be a great moment to also, everything that we are going to create there is going to be live in our subscription. So for next steps, next modules, we are going to have it also there.
Yes. Yep.
And before I forget, I promise that if someone is like me and wants to go directly to the code, we have these amazing AI samples that the whole set of super smart people are working here to create that. Let me share with you the URL here. I know that we have an AKA, so it's somewhere there, but this is a great repo where there is a lot of starting level 100 to level 400 scenarios to do text summary, chat context data, or kind of create an extension, generate images and more. There is a lot of C# code here of how you can start to do AI using this. Maybe it's not for the first set of lessons, but getting here to see the code is a great place to see how we can start doing this. And hey, this is the Azure OpenAI SDKs. This is what we literally seeing right now. If you want to go for more detailed samples besides the one that we have in Learn module, I will advise everyone, hey, get here and take a look here because this code is amazing.
Yeah, it's great code, and we had a lot of great people working on it. Bruno, I know you did a lot of great work on here, and it's super great. And this is the de facto place to go, and we're gonna be expanding this out as we go through the coming weeks and months too, to have more samples in there too. So keep an eye on this GitHub repo.
Perfect. And I think we are literally at the end. I don't know if we missed something else
No,
to talk about.
I think that's pretty much we hit it all. Just one thing I'd want to call out again is what we're all here about is that after all of these, Bruno went through the first two modules in the Generative AI Learn Challenge. And that middle one, the middle AKA MS/Gen AI Learn Challenge, is that we have all the modules needed grouped together so you can enter the challenge, and then you have everything at your fingertips that go through and take them all. So once you've taken all these Learn modules, which are free Learn training, self-paced training, you'll have all the information you need to take the assessment, which is that bottom link. And that assessment is you'll be launching a virtual machine. It's like a full-blown test environment. And it's actually kind of cool, Bruno, is like they play this whole situation like it's your first day on the job and you get an email from the vice president of the company and you have to go fix some issues with their AI. And you got all these emails that you have to follow, and those are your instructions during the assessment. And you log into the portal, and they give you a username and password, and they tell you where the code is. And yeah, so that's what ultimately we want everybody to get their generative AI credentials, and that's what that bottom link does. And it's actually kind of fun to go through, and you have 2 hours to complete the exam once you start it. Also free. So cool. And then all the live streams that will help you go through are here with dates as well.
Yes.
So there's Bruno
Tomorrow,
and I are doing.
Yeah, sorry, please.
I was say Bruno and I are doing the top one right now, and tomorrow we have another one coming up on prompt engineering with Pablo Lopez and Jordan Mathiasen. And then next week we are going to be talking about generating code and images, implementing RAG, and also then closing it out with fundamentals of responsible AI, because you don't want your applications getting away from you and becoming. You don't want to make the news, put it that way. So, yeah.
And small spoiler there, we have so many tools that can help with the last one that I didn't want to start there when I was in Azure AI Studio because it's going to take over the whole session. But yes, I will advise to see all of them. And for the last one, please think about responsible AI for us because it's super, super important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I almost think of responsible AI is something like, oh, do I have to? It's almost like adding accessibility to your apps so that you want to absolutely do it from the start. Think about it. It's for the best for everybody. I mean, you owe it to your users when you're doing it. So, and to yourself. So cool. Yeah, that'll be an interesting session. Yeah. All right, Bruno. We did it. Thank you so much. That was a great demo. I mean, you ran through so much there. And
hey, no problem. And I have the demo gods with me, getting a limit of the service and more. This is nice. Switching code live. This is what we like to do. And yes, looking forward for tomorrow. I'm going to watch tomorrow Pablo and Jordan talking about prompt engineering.
Yeah, it was super great. So yeah, they'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place. And thank you again, Bruno. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow then. And don't forget to take that assessment.
Yes.
All right. Thanks all.
Bye.